Laurent Fignon and Greg LeMond, 1989. The closest Tour de France finish in Tour history. A mere 8 seconds separates the winner from second place on the final day in the run into Paris. Fignon loses, collapses, and is never the same again. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button so you can find out when new videos are released. They come out every Thursday. Welcome back, Mavericks. You know, at my age, it's pretty rare to come across something that truly surprises you. Takes what you thought and turns it on its head, or teaches you something you didn't even know. And tonight, I'm going to share 2 things with you that really surprised me recently. First, this. Carvalhas. It's a red Portuguese wine that is quite good. And the other is this. Were Young and Carefree by Laurent Fignon, his autobiography. Now, I've always considered Fignon a bit of a ponce, to be honest. With that ponytail and his disdain for Greg LeMond, I never had much time for him. But then I read this book, and in a word, it's surprising. It's really, really good. My favorite part of the book is its honesty. Fignon is not afraid to shine a light on himself. He makes no effort at platitudes towards Greg LeMond later in his life when he writes it, nor what he thinks of him as a rider. Yet he speaks frankly about his own faults as well. And I really like that. Let me read you a few passages now. The opening of the book. We knew no fear. These 4 little words, blasphemous, outrageous, unreasonable. I chose this opening well in advance, but when it came to putting those words on paper, I hesitated. I was not sure I wanted to let them out in public. Perhaps they will be seen as evidence for the prosecution rather than what they actually are. Words that testify to how it was, how my time was. And other quotes like, to put it plainly, today, as soon as a rider farts on the Tour de France, it seems as if he's radically reinventing the sport. That's rubbish. I've also come to appreciate Fignon as a passionate romantic of the sport, and something I believe has largely been lacking up until recently. I spoke about it during my Mario Cipollini birthday tribute. Science, rules, order, what I like to call adult supervision, has taken the romantic passion largely out of the sport I love. Guts are replaced by rote power meter performance, and attacks are minimal because corporate control largely sets tempos and pays huge salaries to dominate outcomes. Fignon speaks about it at length in the book, though he was really just at the front end of it in the early 90s. For him, it started even before LeMond was allowed to use the Scott TT Aero bars in the final time trial of the '89 Tour de France. The hope for all of us fans and the sport is what, if you follow cycling recently, you've seen in the past 2 or 3 years, with the young riders coming up, breaking the status quo. They use numbers for performance, but then let passion dictate that performance. They attack unexpectedly.
SCHWAG and Alaphilippe now launches his 3rd attack.
They ride hard. They blow up tempos and riders of established and dominant teams. And even when they're in the lead, they never seem to play prevent defense. These are less formulaic riders, pushing themselves beyond limits and turning the sport on its head. Their efforts renew the legendary passion for the sport and make it so much more fun to watch than it has been the previous decade. When was the last time you saw 2 pure sprinters take Paris-Roubaix? Ever. Let alone twice in a less than 5-year period. Or watched an unknown rider ride alone among the wolves for days, only to put on a clinic in individual time trialing on the final day of the tour. It's surprising, and it's so cool to watch as a fan. And this is also surprising. I was recently lamenting the spiking cost of my favorite California Reds to a guide at my local Total Wine, and he brought me to the Portuguese wine section. He's a big fan and said some of them rival the other better-known regions of the world, but at a fraction of the cost. He said he felt Carvalhas was better. So I took a shot. And I'll tell you, he was right. This is surprisingly good. It's bold yet smooth. It's silky on the tongue with amazing legs. I dare say this is as good as another bold California favorite of mine, Silver Oak, but at less than half the price. It's a 93-point red at an 80-point price. It's bold but not overwhelming. It drinks smooth to the finish, with or without food, and it warms your insides to counteract the cold outside, which I'm experiencing all over Virginia right now. I highly recommend this red wine. Fignon's book is a great read, filled with the history, honesty, and even more than a little frustration and envy at times. It reflects a time of raw competition in cycling, one that was lost until the current generation of riders came up. So if you're looking for a last-minute gift for the cycling fan in your list, you want something good to read while you savor this great wine in front of a fire through the cold winter, get your hands on both these gems. They're really, really good. You won't regret it. That's all for this edition of the Maverick Cyclist. Happy holidays. Consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon. Get access to extras and staff and content you can't get on the regular channel. And don't forget to pick up your Maverick SCHWAG in time for Christmas.